Most people think they're buying assets, but in reality, they're just buying expensive liabilities with better marketing. When I see people tell me that they bought a $300,000 Lamborghini because it's an investment because it increases my personal brand, it's like, well, you spent $300,000 and I don't see that car paying you. I just see the insurance, the maintenance, and oh yeah, the $300,000 just tearing wealth down. Not to mention, the most expensive thing about owning a Lamborghini is the women you attract. Because the women that are attracted to you because of the Lamborghini are attracted to you because of the money that it took to get the Lamborghini, and that's what they're going to want from you. Sometimes. My name is Landon Meadows, and here at Truvium Financial, our goal is to help people build wealth and keep more money in their pocket. In this video, we're going to debunk some of the common misconceptions that people think are good purchases and they're buying assets, but the reality is they're just buying expensive liabilities. Number one, buying luxury cars to think it's a status symbol. See, when I see people with a Lamborghini, I think one of two things, okay? There's the type of person who buys the Lamborghini because they have the money to and they want to because they have the money to. That type of person, buy the Lamborghini, enjoy it. Then there's a second type of person that buys a Lamborghini, which I see more often. They buy it because they want people to think they are wealthy. But by buying it before they are wealthy, they never get to become wealthy. Now, this doesn't have to be as expensive as, say, a Lamborghini, but it could be something like a Louis Vuitton, a Gucci, or I found out the other day from some of the women in my life that there's this brand called Hermes, and the bags are $28,000 for a little bag. So it could be something like that. Number two is passive investments that turn into a job. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people buy real estate because they see on YouTube that real estate is one of the best investments you can make and passive income. And if you can build passive income, then you don't have to work. And so they think, oh, I'm going to buy this property. I'm going to have tenants pay the mortgage and pay me cash flow. And it's going to be awesome. And then you have people like me. In 2020, April 15th of 2020, I bought a multifamily home thinking I'm going to get passive income, right? Well, it turns out that passive income came into so much stress that after 6 months, I had to sell the property. So not only did I not get my passive income, I lost tens of thousands of dollars because I was forced to sell with us moving. So be careful about when people are selling you passive income, it doesn't turn into a job, which takes more from you than the income could ever generate. Number three is assets that trap your money. One of the financial rules that we teach here at Truvium is LLC. In order for an asset to be considered a good asset in our mind, it has to have two of three things. Now, when we say LLC, we are not talking about limited liability corporation. We are talking about leverage, liquidity, and control. We want to have at least two of the three. So let's take a 401k, for example. Can we leverage the 401k? Some people say, yeah, I can borrow against it. But you borrow against it and then you pay it back with after-tax dollars. So you get taxed twice. Okay, not a good place to borrow. Is the 401k liquid? Well, again, you can take money out, but you're going to pay a 10% penalty plus the ordinary income taxes depending on your bracket based on how much you take out. Not really liquid. And do you have control of your money? And I get people that say, well, yeah, I have control of my money. I get to pick where it's invested. Who tells you how much you can put into your 401k? The government. Who tells you when you can touch it? The government. And who tells you what the taxes are going to be when you touch it? The government. So who controls your 401k? The government. It's not our money. We're creating a super bond portfolio for the government. So be careful of assets that don't have leverage, liquidity, and control. They need two out of the three. Number four is your primary home when you overextend. When I see people tell me that their primary home is an investment, I think twice before I say it is or it isn't. Because let me give you an example. Last week, I was with my business partner in West Palm Beach, and we were looking at condos in a brand new condominium development because my wife and I are thinking about moving down to Florida. So we looked, and the price point was anywhere from $1.6 to $2.3 million. Okay. So now let's say the one I liked obviously was the $2.3 million one because I have expensive taste in that type of thing. So I looked at the $2.3 million home. Oh, it's going to be an investment because they're developing the area. It's going to go up in time over value. And I'm going to get this magic word that people in real estate call appreciation. So it's going to go up in value over time. But here's the thing. I'm getting appreciation. However, I need to put in a big down payment, number one, but people will argue that comes back in the equity. The HOA on this property is $2,200 a month. Very expensive. World-class amenities, super luxurious, includes all these different things, but that money's gone. I'm going to have very expensive insurance. I'm going to have utilities. I'm going to have property taxes. I'm going to pay interest, mortgage interest on the amount of money that I borrow. So I'm going to have all these other expenses that I'm paying into. They think, well, it's going to go up in value. So let's say my condo appreciates from 2.2 million, and I get the appreciation, and I can sell it for 2.5 million, make $300,000 minus all the expenses I paid into while I was waiting for it to appreciate, and the realtor fees when I sell it at the higher price. And if I didn't live in it long enough, I'd pay capital gains tax on the growth. Okay. So when I netted out what I actually made in the appreciation was a big financial mistake. I'm not saying don't buy a home because it's a bad investment. All I'm saying is make sure you know what reason you're buying the home for. I would be buying that condo because I like it, not because I want to make money off of it. Very rarely in life do you get to buy the things that you want for pleasure and also for profit. Usually you have to pick one, so just be aware which one you're picking. And number 5 is investments you don't understand. Of the hundreds of families I've worked with over the past few years, this is one of the biggest financial regrets that they have is buying investments that sounded good because somebody sold it in a way that seemed, I'm going to make so much money on this, but they didn't really understand. They just trusted somebody that they were going to be right and they were going to be rich. But guess what? They weren't right. And they weren't rich, and they lost a lot of money. I've seen people lose hundreds of thousands of dollars by simply putting their money in things they don't understand, okay? Most people I work with are not financial experts, so they rely on professionals like myself to help identify the best opportunities given their certain situation. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. That's actually very good. If you don't know someone, find the best in that industry and work with them. However, make sure my biggest thing is understand what and why you're doing it. Because at the end of the day, while they might have the best intentions, nobody cares about your money as much as you. So at the end of the day, the responsibility is on us as consumers to make the best decision for our financial future. Having financial experts in your world is actually a really good thing. But not all of those financial experts are on TikTok that are 22 years old and have no money, but all of a sudden they've cracked the code to being rich. Okay, so when you are listening to someone, really understand what they're talking about, how it applies to you, and if you have the relationship and trust to look at their situation and think, okay, it's going to work for me. Number 6, and probably the most expensive and controversial one, is a spouse that is financially misaligned. Put in another word, a spouse that spends way more money than they should. Let me tell you a little story of a couple that made this mistake. So you had this guy, we're going to call him John Smith, and we're going to have his wife, which is going to be Jane Smith. And I love that analogy because that's from Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. John Smith was very organized, very diligent, had a clear budget, made good money, spent less than he made, and was really disciplined. But then he met Jane Smith and fell madly in love with Jane Smith. And Jane Smith did not have the same financial discipline as John. But Jane had lots of fun and it made their life very interesting. So Jane would always do things like, hey, let's go out to eat. Let me buy this new bag. Hey, did you know that so-and-so drives a nicer car than us? Hey, our house is a little too small. Hey. And just that little, hey, honey, can we go here? And John, of course, always said yes. What happened was when we looked at over the last 2 years, those, hey, honey, hey, we should do this. That turned into tens of thousands of dollars a year. Now, who is in the wrong? Is it Jane or is it John? Well, it's both. Because to be honest, neither of them chose a good partner. See how having the wrong partner can mess up your finances? Now, in this example, Jane Smith was the one that was the spender, but I've seen it almost more often. It actually ends up being the guy who's the big spender. So It's not a matter of guy versus girl. It's a matter of how can you come together and align on your financial future. I don't typically spend money in my relationship. My wife spends money in increments all the time. But when I spend money, look out. Like I didn't spend any money in December until I bought us a $12,000 trip to Patagonia. Then I didn't spend any money in January until I bought an $18,000 Rolex. And then I haven't spent any money in January since, but then we're going to Portugal and Hawaii for 2 weeks. So for me, I don't spend a lot frequently, but when I do, it's like way too much. So if we look over the course of a year, I probably spend more money, even though my spending is maybe divided up over 10, 12 purchases and hers is over hundreds. But it's different. Get on the same page, make a plan together. In summary, things you buy aren't assets just because you own them and they last a long time. Assets go up in value. Assets pay you. Assets make money, liabilities lose money. So if you say, is this an asset or a liability? Does it make you money or does it lose you money? On paper, in your bank account. That's how you make the determining factor. I hope this helps. If you found value in this, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, put those in the comments below.